Yes, 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 yes. Thank you. Thank you. Welcome to another great show for APN TV Media. We have a lot in store for you today. As a matter of fact, our first guest, her name is Danielle A. Vann. Yes. And she, some of you already know about her. And she does have a trailer that we'll be showing, you know, during our PSA when we go to the middle of our program, but also, or beginning portion of our program. But also, she's very dynamic. She's I mean, astounding with a lot of awards, okay? A lot of awards for her gifted talents. As well as, let me share this. She has these two books. The first one's called The Whizbang Machine, Book 1. And the second one is called The Whizbang Machine, and I think it's Tunny's Curse, which is Book 2. All right, but I will talk to her about that. As well as in our second guest that will be coming on, it's Carmela Dutra. And Carmela Dutra, she also has a trailer we'll be putting on during our PSA commercial as well. But in her book, it is a children's book, which is Little Katie Goes to the Moon. So I tell you what, without further ado, except for one thing, anything in politics or anything you have to add?
Well, locally, Joe Bellino's doing a great job trying to help out the citizens in Monroe to have a better life, trying to get the opioid crisis with the kids under control. And
here in Monroe?
Yep.
Beautiful.
Yep, he's doing a great job. So let's hope he gets reelected.
All right. All right. And you know what? On that note, we'll be right back after this. Yes, yes, yes. Welcome back, welcome back. Well, no introduction that needed, by the way. Danielle, how you doing?
I'm very well. How are you?
Doing fine, doing fine. I think were you headed on a trip? You came this way to Texas or something like that?
I am based in Texas right now.
You're based in Texas.
Yeah, and I travel in many different locations throughout the United States and the world.
Really?
Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Well, one of the things, though, if you don't mind, I would like to mention that because I was looking at this. I would like to let everybody know about the awards that you have.
Yeah.
The Whizbang Machine won. This is the, I believe, book one. The Whizbang Machine won the Amsterdam. Let me put my glasses on. Got me bugging here. Sorry, don't pay me no mind. Here we go. The Whizbang Machine won the Amsterdam Book Festival in 2017 for young adult novels.
Yes.
Named to the 2017 Texas Library Association a Blue Bonnet Long List. Won the 2017 won the 2017 silver medal in the International Literary Classics Award. Yes. Placed second in the 2017 North Texas Book Festival's writing contest. It's like basically Texas your home, the
Yeah.
forefront.
Yeah,
Yes,
that is my
yes.
home.
Also was the runner-up in the San Francisco Book Festival, named finalist in the 2016 Reader's Favorite International Writing Contest, has been granted a Literary Classic Seal of Approval, a 5-star badge by Reader's Favorite, which I know about that. That's good, excellent. And now has been placed on the Blue Bonnet Long List. Congratulations. And that is book one.
That's just book one, yeah.
That's book one. Now,
Yeah.
book two, which is, did I say that right? Tunny's Curse?
Tooney's Curse. Tooney's.
It's Tooney's.
Yeah.
Okay, the Whizbang Machine, Tooney's Curse, won Best YA Adventure Book in the state of Texas from the Texas Authors Association, won gold in the 2017 International Literary Classics Award, given Vann the top honors in the YA category with both gold and silver. Tooney's Curse won Best YA ebook in the Royal Dragonfly Awards, won Best YA book in the Midwest Book Festival, was named the runner-up in the New York Book Festival, placed honorable mention in the Hollywood Book Festival. I'm familiar with that. Won honorable mention in the 2017 Reader's Favorite International Contest, earned a Literary Classic Seal of Approval, as well as a 5-star badge from Reader's Favorite. Wow. That's just like a double header. Yes, there was something else in here that was very interesting. And I'm not sure. Yes, I am. I thought I wasn't sure, but yes, I am. The Whizbang Machine. Not only did you have these awards, but also I have to put this out there because I was listening to it. You have an audio.
Yeah, on Audible.
I know I should step out there, but was that you doing audio? Was that your voice?
It wasn't. No, Bailey Carr is the one who is the audio voice for Audible on these books, and she's amazing.
Yes, she is. Yes, she is. I was listening to it, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's pretty good. She's good. She's good." So for anybody who doesn't know about it, is that it's in paperback, audiobook, and MP3 CD.
Yeah.
Wow. But I encourage the audiobook was nice. I mean, I really liked that. That was nice. So she did a great job. So we'll give her credit as well. Hey, Doc.
How did you come up with the title, The Whizbang Machine?
Well, Well, if you see the cover, obviously it is an old typewriter, and I wanted the typewriter to have an aspect that was different than what a normal typewriter would sound like. So throughout the book, the typewriter actually makes the sound of whiz, whiz, bang. So it became a natural title for the Whizbang machine to take form.
Okay, I wondered about that because you read about Captain Billy's Whiz Bang, which was a book of jokes that was written around the 1800s, and the term whiz bang has been around for a long, long time. I thought maybe it tied in with something else just besides the noise the typewriter made.
Well, it has a lot to do with the overall curse that happens throughout the book, and I use a lot of antique things throughout the book to tie in, and including some language. So you do see the whiz bang coming up quite often throughout the book.
Now it makes sense. Yes,
Yeah.
Very good. I'm glad you had the antique things in there. That makes it perfect.
It's a great aspect because so many children right now, especially that youth market, don't know what a typewriter is. So if I'm at book signings or I speak a lot at schools as a national literacy advocate as well, and I try to take those or my things with me, typewriter and some other little antique pieces that I can't give away because they're within the story and big important pieces, but they're always very enthralled by what it is and just seeing it. And of course, it inspires memories of, oh, I saw that at my grandparents' house or whatever. So they love it.
Oh, they would. And you see youngsters today, when they see a telephone booth and Doctor Who, they wonder what it is.
Right, exactly. Same thing with the typewriter for sure.
Oh yeah, and the one thing they probably don't know is how much talent it takes to be a good typist, because you can't just go back and erase your mistake.
That's exactly right. And I always tell them, and I age myself, that that's how I learned to type in high schools. We had typing classes, long rows of tables with all of the typewriters, and they kind of look at me like, well, exactly how old are you again? So it's kind of fun.
Yeah, kids aren't always subtle.
No, never.
Do us a favor. Tell us a little bit about your book, or the first one. The first one.
Yeah. The first one starts with the main character, Elizabeth Yale. She's 15 at the time, and it's really this pinnacle point for her where she's lost her father, and directly after her grandfather, who she was closest with, takes off, unable to take the death of his son. And the grandfather, his name is Jack, is coming back, first time in 8 years. And with him is the Whizbang machine. And it starts this kind of dynamic between grandfather and granddaughter, where this gift starts spelling out curses and secrets from their family's past that neither of them really knew about. And it changes the dynamic between them, and they have to go on an ancestral search. So they start in New York, they end up in Leiden, the Netherlands, and there's a whole lot of adventure, a lot of fast-paced movement, and a team effort to try to break a curse that's been on their family for a very long time.
Okay. Now, as they're doing their travels, do they find themselves surprised at the cultural differences they run into in the other countries?
Yes, they do, in fact, and they use it to their advantage many times. One thing that I am very passionate about is history. And so I was purposely trying to bring in historical elements throughout the book. So it will be in a certain place that is a true place. It has a lot of history, but of course the characters are using fiction throughout to move. So you see a lot of historical events and even just the differences throughout all of the book series. So they're learning as you read, but they also are bringing back their past. I think we've lost that in our families. We're not asking grandma or even great grandma, if they're still alive, what our past was in our family. And so this has really inspired kids to look, especially with Ancestry.com and all of those different DNA tests. It's really getting people thinking, and the kids are inspired to find out what their past is. And that's really what this book series is about too.
That's very interesting. When I was in Bamberg, Germany, they have a bridge going over a little river there, and the city hall is in the middle of the bridge. And you would never see that here, but the reason they did that is when the citizens of Bamberg decided they wanted to build a city hall, the Emperor of Bamberg said you cannot build it on any of the land in the city. So they built it in the middle of the bridge going over the river.
Isn't that interesting? Yeah.
Yeah, and you see that type of history when you go other places. You don't see it here.
Right, yeah. And so when they're in New York, you're going to see places like the New York City Library, and even heading underneath the tunnels of the library in Bryant Park. And I give you the history of that weaved into the characters. So we do have living history everywhere in our own nation, and I try to bring it to the forefront, as well as what you see, like you said, overseas, and what they are really forced into throughout their adventure.
Yes, that's interesting. And we see, I mean, you go, like if you go to Maryland, you discover that at one time Annapolis was the capital of the United States.
Right.
Most people don't even know that.
Right, exactly.
So.
Would you consider, you know, I know you had the first book, but I'm wondering if both books, do you consider those as the nonfiction for the, because I can think I see more categories in this book.
Yeah, definitely not nonfiction. They're fiction, historical fiction at some point, obviously weaved in with the actual fiction part, and then even just adventure. I've had both sides of readers, both adults and young adults coming in and say, you know, oh, I loved this. I picked it up thinking it was mystery, but it was really mystery and adventure. Or I picked it up thinking it was historical, but I got an adventure into it too. So I really just set out to write something that would pull a reader in and not let go. And I feel like I've been very fortunate to have created that.
Yes, good. You read my mind there, because I was thinking about that. The mystery. Yeah. It was a special mystery, but you know, at first, when I was thinking about that with the typewriter, you know, and it kept giving out a message. Yeah. And I kept wondering, was this going to go into a more of a ghost fiction type novel, or I didn't know what to say.
Yeah. Well, there are obviously magical elements throughout the books, but yes. I really wanted to make sure that it was something that you could really envision yourself seeing, smelling, touching. I didn't want to go so far out on this kind of undimensional realm that you weren't able to put yourself there. So yes, you do have magic and you do have some of the mystery, but again, it's rooted in the adventure and in the history. So yeah, we're pulling from all different areas.
Excellent, excellent. It seemed like you cover all dynamics in this, which was great for the young readers, which is excellent, actually. Excellent. You know what, then I'm gonna go back a little bit more here. When you started, you know what helped you further your writing career? Can we think about it?
Yeah, I spent a lot of time in news, in journalism, and I was a news anchor, writer for many years. And so I think that obviously had a lot to do with it. But I've always had a passion for writing. It's not something that I thought, oh, one day I'll do that. It was sort of always innate that I knew that that's what I would do. So all of that groundwork with being a journalist and news anchor really just moved beautifully into novel writing.
So it helped develop your creativity, is what it did. It helped develop your creativity.
Yeah, and obviously I think that a really good writer pulls on life experience. And so especially with this series, you know, I have other books, but especially this series, the element of officers being involved or there's crime scenes at some point, I'm able to really pull on those days where I was standing in those rooms or in those spaces and put them into my writing as well.
You know, some of the best books I've read combine fiction with actual history, and you know, I've learned a lot from books of fiction about history.
Yeah.
And it looks like your book's going to do the same thing.
I hope so. One of the things I really wanted to do in the back of each book, and I was able to do that thankfully, was to put together a sort of guide so that people would know, whether, no matter what their age was that they were reading it, what was actual true and what was fiction. So you can go to the back of each of the books and you can see the table of contents, and I give you a brief little summary about that place. So if it's a historical landmark that they're at, you will actually learn about that place. Or if it's an event, in one of the books, there's a place in Leiden that actually had an explosion, and that is true. And so I tell the reader about what happened, how it came about, and how I've weaved it in to make it fiction within the book. So those guides are on each of the books.
Well, that's very good. That table of contents is going to help people a lot when they read your book.
Yeah, it gives some perspective, which is great.
Well, it's always good to get some more education.
Yes, definitely.
Well, you have 2 books so far. You plan on? Do you have any idea how far you're going to extend the series?
Well, right now it seems like it will be 4 books. I am just about 2 chapters away from finishing the 3rd, so I'm very excited. It's been a long haul for this book and trying to weave everything from 1 into 3. We really think that it'll be 4, but there might be a 5th. We haven't really landed on whether that's going to be the case or not, but do know that there are at least 2 more books coming of the series.
Oh, okay. Hey, you know what? Actually, we're gonna take a break, and we'll be right back after this.
Right.
Yes, welcome back. Got a lovely and caring crew here, Danielle. I mean, they were concerned because they have me and my butterflies sometimes. But nevertheless, back to this. I'm very impressed with the work. It's not just more so about the awards. What I was looking at is that you took the extra initiative and you have placed it in your work into audio.
Yeah.
And so it made it more adventurous. It gives you, after a while, I mean, and I'm gonna let everybody know that it's not that you actually, when you listen to audio, I remember back in the day when we used to listen to the little albums and little, for the books. Yeah. It's the nowadays, I mean, actually, our attention span, we always want something so quick. But if you just took the time to just listen to a story, it can take you somewhere. As you may say, an adventure. Takes you out into an adventure. So I was glad that you did that you succeeded and put it in audio. That's a big leap in the literary industry. And which, speaking of literary industry, what do you think the publishing industry is going in the future? Because something happened, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah, that's a big question, isn't it? It's actually something I study very closely, and I worked in publishing for a while as well. I think that we're starting to see some of the trend back to more traditional publishing. The last stat that I saw was 3,600 books are published every single day, and that's just with the ISBN number. So I don't know. I see that a lot of traditional publishing houses are really kind of starting to settle in the ground and try to bring their hold back. But I also see the self-published authors rising up strong and, finding placement. And it's really interesting. As a traditional published author, I'm always looking to read people's work that self-pub, just because I want to know, what is it that you're doing? And so I'm a big reader myself. But I do see that we're kind of getting back into that level ground. So I'm watching it.
That's where, that's where I'm not sure if you are aware of what happened a few months ago. A matter of fact, 2 years ago, the traditional took on self-publishing.
Yeah.
It's like Simon & Schuster, who went self-publishing with Archway Publishing.
Right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and Archway Publishing is actually, it's using the logo of Simon & Schuster, but Archway Publishing, which is self-publishing, is a part of Author Solutions.
Right.
So, and they're not the only ones that's doing it now. It's the industry went somewhere, and they're somehow trying to go back. They actually starts taking over the self-publishing industry, kind of stepping on top. Now, watch this. This was a couple of years ago. A couple of there's only, but now, like I say, it's only 95%. And I said it before in other shows that 95% only knows about it. It was 98%. But 95%, was 98% didn't know, but now 95% doesn't know. So that means more people are starting to begin to see this. Books A Million that became publishers, self-publishers. Did you know that?
I knew that they were talking about.
Yeah, we got caught off guard. They decided to. We got Barnes Noble became. We talking about major moguls, the conglomerates. The Barnes and Noble became self-publishers, but then just 2 months ago now, Books A Million. We weren't sure until the authors wasn't able to get their to have book events or go into the store without publishing with them, and then the publishing houses got a memo that we were on halt because we couldn't go in. And that just happened, and it's still progressing because they wasn't sure if it was legal extortion or not, because the fact that since they became publishers, that makes it a total different brand. Yeah. That means publishing houses, what they're doing is now, since they became a publishing house, and that's also self-publishing. What happens is both sides started collapsing on the authors.
Yeah.
And that's the part I'm very, very concerned about. It just happened. We saw traditionals, they feel they did something and they shouldn't have jumped into, in the self-publishing. And they made these deals with the self-publishing industry, which, offer solutions. Then all of a sudden, instead of the bookstores collapsing like Barnes & Noble, they started building cafes, then they became publishers. Then now all of a sudden, 2 months ago, the last of all the people besides Amazon, which they built their physical stores, is that they became the self-publishers. So what's that leads to the self-publishing industry? Because you got two giants, the booksellers and the traditionals, and they both now are technically profiting off the authors. So what do we do with that? That just happened for the bookstore. There's no more major booksellers that are not doing it anymore. They actually became publishers. So everything changed.
Well, I think everybody decided that they wanted a piece of the pie. And I think there were so many authors out there that had work, this big catalog of work that they wanted the world to see. And they were willing to do it no matter what. And so you had these big vanity press coming up. And, as I own a business as well on the side of writing, and as a business owner, I say that's really smart. If you can get your hands into different webs and really, pull in profit, that's smart. But at what cost does it come? I think it comes out of a couple things. One, the author and the talent.
Yes.
So many companies and bookstores are being built on talent that because really they're just being used to build business. They aren't really shining like they should. But I also think it comes with the fact that readers kind of began to shy away a little bit from reading because there were so many books that shouldn't have ever been books, that weren't edited,
that's correct,
weren't, the best product out there. And so I think there's just, like I said, there's this kind of leveling where the traditional houses are saying, what's important? What do we want to see? Well, we need to bring readers back. Like I said earlier, it's something that I do as a literacy advocate and speak about literacy, is that we have to bring it back. And I think we see the traditional houses doing it. I even think the bookstores are doing it. Are they dumb for trying to get into the self-pub world? No. Does it benefit everybody? I don't think so. I don't know where the level is, but I do feel like the pendulum is going to tip.
I agree with you there. That's. I think they've made a mistake. Instead of coming together, that was just like when the Kindle came out, the ebook thing, and next you know it, you had to have that instead of or like an EPUB or Mobi type app or system, and everybody could have benefited together, and it would have been a win-win, and the authors can feel that nobody's trying to scrub their backs, work off or make money off the backs of authors. They're supposed to help authors progress. The thing is that Books A Million had not only charging the fee with the authors, but they're actually they're not allowed to have their books into their store unless they charge an extra fee. Now that was the twist. And the part is, and they still are not going to do the editing unless it costs extra. So it's just happened. I say it's really messed up. But and you being a literary agent, an advocate, as watching how things go. Well, one thing is that all of us together, and it's to try to help and guide the authors in the right way, because there are gifted talents like yourself and like Bob here and some of our authors here, as well as we have those in the control room like Michelle Mering, who has some dynamic books that gets caught up in the rift of between, who's the best publisher, or how can I get my book out without getting, without getting knocked out the box?
Right, yeah. I mean, writing comes down to very simple things, and that is just doing the work and producing the best product there is.
Yes, yes.
And I think what happens, like you said, getting lost. I think so many authors start in the game without ever learning about the publishing world. And you can't do that. It's like me saying, I want to open a restaurant, but I don't know how to cook an egg. You have to know what you're getting into, right? Right? You have to know. And so I think that, as more authors learn and they put pen to paper and realize, I don't want that book to look, terrible on that shelf, then, I think that they'll come to the table. As far as bookstores and all of that, they make their bottom line based on those big companies as well as what they're doing. I don't think that we will ever see them, completely shut the traditional houses down. But it costs. Shelving for a book costs money.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Shelving does cost money. It's not free. Everybody's hands in the cookie jar. Everybody's here, from the booksellers, the bookstores, to the printing house and the distributors. Right. But you know what? I mean, we can go on and on, because I want you to come back on the show. I definitely want you to come back on the show, because we got a lot to talk about. We have a lot to talk about, and I love, I enjoy having literary advocates, because we're trying to help. We're all trying to help, not trying to discredit anybody, but we're trying to help solve something, come with a solution, and be able to, teach and graft the authors into the right perspective, and teach them the right way. But
what you said's right. We want to keep everybody in it if we can.
What about you, Danielle?
Me too. That's what I said. Just me too. I want to see people coming and fulfilling their passion, and if that means writing, then get to it.
Yes.
Don't put it in the background. Bring it to the forefront.
Yeah, we want to just keep writing, go forward.
Yep, exactly.
And I'm glad those like yourself are here, and that's very appreciative. Yes. So we do want you to come back. We know you got more books in store for us coming up in the near future.
Yes.
Okay, and I know you and I have been talking for a long time, for the past year,
yes,
get you up
exactly.
here. You're a busy woman.
Oh, thank you.
So we thank you for coming on the show, and we're looking forward to your near future.
All right. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Hey, take care.
You too.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
And everybody, yes. And everybody, when we come back, we'll be back with Carmela Dutra with her book titled Little Katie Goes to the Moon.
The world has turned against this. They have not done it.
Oh my.
There has been...
Data transfer complete.
All right.
Butler, I have seen.
Welcome back. Yes. And we have Carmela Dutra with us as our second guest. Her book is titled Little Katie Goes to the Moon. Carmela, how you doing?
I'm doing great. Thank you so much for having me here.
We're glad to have you. Glad to have you. You know what's funny is I'm seeing. I went from one book and I started looking deeper into other creativity that you have, and I see that you have 3 books, but apparently you may have 4. So, can you show us here on the screen what you got?
Sure. So this is the first one that you mentioned. This is Little Katie Goes to the Moon. This is my STEAM series for children that will teach them the introduction basics to the moon, outer space, and the satellites, the importance of them. And it teaches them in a fun, whimsical way, so it doesn't feel as if it's just another textbook being thrown at them. So this is the first book in this new series. And then I also have my very first series that I wrote, which is The Adventures of Lorenzo the Bear. So this one is Encounter at Jellyfish Cove. So this is a series about a bear named Lorenzo with his friends who they travel. It's all about friendship, helping individuals in need, and looking for the good in others. And this is the second one in the series. What is this one? Journey to Honeysuckle Mountain, where he has to go and investigate why there's no honey in Poppy Hill's place and help Queen Beverly the Bumblebee. And then we have this one, the third book in the series, which a group of second graders helped me write.
Oh, you said it's for second graders?
Yeah, so this one is The Trip to the Arctic Frontier. It was a group of second, third grade combo classroom who helped me write this. So I already had the story started for them in a story prompt, and then I asked them to use their imagination, how they would like to see the book finished. So I took all of their ideas and I was able to funnel them down into one theme for the story. And then they even helped with ideas for illustrations too. So we actually have in the front of the book, I don't know if you can see it, but a picture of the classroom who helped.
Wow. Yes. Very good.
Very good. Now, are these books all aimed at children around the age of second grade, or
between grades 2 through 5, 2 through 6, depending on which series. Like Little Katie goes up to about 6th grade. So the Little Katie series is going to encompass everything in the science, technology, engineering, arts, mathematics. So the whole STEAM field, it's going to discuss different ones about that. And then the Lorenzo the Bear is more of just a fun adventure book that helps address morals in a sense about how to treat others right, not to bully, not to pick on people. And that one is more for the younger grades in elementary school. So really that one's more grades 1 through 4.
That's very good. And the one that is Little Katie Goes to the Moon teaches youngsters about the planets and the solar system in general, or is there a lot more to it than that?
So with the first one, Little Katie Goes to the Moon, this one is going to teach the reader about the moon. It will talk about who was the first people to land on the moon, some of the things that are still left on the moon, like the Lunar Laser Ranging Experiment, what that machine is and what it does for us, how it's still working. Explains what moonquakes are, why satellites are important. And it has a fun twist at the end that I don't really want to give it away, but it does surprise a lot of people when they get to the ending.
Well, that sounds very good. I can't, when you mentioned the moon, I can't help thinking about a joke I heard. These 2 blondes are walking along the street in a moonlit night in New York City, and one blonde says to the other, "Which do you think is closer, the moon or Miami?" And the other blonde says, "Duh, can you see Miami?"
Oh, I'm going to remember that one. I wonder if I can put that on my website. That's funny because I have on my website different little areas where they can download free activities. And I've actually had some kids, some like 5th graders, like, you need to have jokes on here. So that would actually be something for me to think about. That's pretty funny.
Well, thank you.
I'll credit it back to you, of course, because I've not heard that one before.
Oh, my goodness. Although I may be hearing it from one blonde that I know in particular, but that's another story.
I know it's about the acronym for STEAM, but how, you know what, actually, let everybody know about that, because it's a STEAM book.
So I'm sure you might have heard of STEM, so science, technology, engineering, mathematics. STEAM
Yes.
is the same, you just throw the arts into it. So it just helps to incorporate arts and design into it. And since I'm the illustrator of my stories, it was felt upon at the time when I was with my publishing house that I fell better into the STEAM niche than I did with just the straight STEM, because I did the illustrations. And so on a lot of my author visits that I do when I go and I work with the schools is we incorporate illustrator activities in teaching the kids the basics with illustrations and character developments.
I was going to ask you about that, or having everybody know that you are also the illustrator.
Yes.
Are you the illustrator for all 4 books?
I am. I've also illustrated for other individuals too. There's a woman back east that I've worked with several times, more times than I can count throughout the past couple of years, where I've done illustrations for her and her business.
Wow, you are very talented, very gifted. So not only you create the dynamics to educate, but you also are the creator for the illustrations.
Yeah, and I can't take all of the credit in terms of with the stories, because I work
the children.
A lot
Yes.
of school districts, and the teachers give me feedback about what it is that their students are struggling with, and what they feel would be best used in the classrooms. So one teacher that I've worked with for several years, one of the areas that she says her students struggle with is magnetism. And so that's how I come up with some of the ideas, is I get the feedback from the teachers about what they would like to see in books. And then that's how I'm able to come up with the stories and incorporate them in.
Oh.
Are very old. When they get too close to the sun, some of the ice melts off and becomes gas. That's interesting learning.
That's how the whole book is, for the most part. It's just little factoids sprinkled throughout the book. And then if you where you paused and said, do you remember learning about comets in school? That gives the opportunity for educators, for parents, to stop and ask their children, have you learned about comets? And then based on what their reaction is, if they say yes, then they can, before they continue reading, what do you remember learning about comets? And so then you're able to really connect and engage with your children as you read this book. So throughout the book, there's various stopping points where you can ask the reader, do you remember learning about this? Or there's another one I talk about the distance from the Earth to the moon, how far it is. It's an opportunity for the kids to guess. And then I also give an illustration for them to understand what it would be like if you were to ride in a car to drive to the moon, how long it would take.
You brought back something that the science fair was doing many moons ago when we were kids. Is bringing back memory. Something is easy for them to adjust and to be able to, without struggling, about knowledge, is to get the brain to function, even function so more that it helps them be able to think. So, and in that note, we both are very appreciative of what you're doing. We both believe that's admirable. Your stories here are great. Actually, it's a lot of it's nonfiction in a way, to tell you the truth, because everything about it is educational.
Kind of a blend of the two. It's fiction meets nonfiction blended together. It really is, because as you read the story, you'll see how the imagination also plays into this as well.
Yeah, you add a little dramatized flavor into it. That's all you did. But actually, the facts are there. I mean, and that's one thing you approach. It says, regardless, you have brought something that is educational and fun to enjoy reading, which also gives a great big boost to the literary industry.
Anything that we can do to get kids excited about reading,
yes,
they can also learn at the same time, I'm all for it.
And also, as you as well, we definitely want to have you back on board because you have multiple books, and we want to talk more about the other books as well. Would you love to come back on again in the near future?
I would. You'd have to fight me off to keep me from coming back. I've enjoyed our conversation so much, our time together. It's just flown by. I can't believe we're already done. So thank you so very much for having me. I really appreciate it.
You've been great. You've been great.
Thank you.
Thank you,
You
Carmela.
have been great, Carmela.
Thank you guys so much.
Take care.
You too.
And everybody, I'm glad I hope you enjoyed, having a great time with us and with our two guests, Danielle A. Vann with the Whizbang Machine Book 1 and the Whizbang Machine Tunney's, am I saying it right?
Tunney's Curse.
Tunney's Curse, thank you. Tunney's Curse, Book 2. And along with Carmela Dutra, with her, she has 4 books, but one of the main ones, which actually won an award, Little Katie Goes to the Moon. So, I mean, that's fantastic. So, I'll tell you what, God bless, and we're looking forward. You got anything to say?
No, I thought they were 2 great authors and excellent books.
So, we're looking forward to seeing all of you next week. Have a good night.
There's a place inside my mind unseen, dreams of you and I that just can't be, but I can keep them safe and locked away inside. In a perfect world where I control it, give me your heart there and I would hold it. But I know that just can't be reality. But please, don't you wake my daydream, 'cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. If you said to jump, then I will do it. Right into the fire and walk straight through it. If you knew, I bet that's just what you would say. I guess the only thing for me to do is never let you know just how I'm feeling, 'cause I don't want to know if you don't feel the same. It's a shame. Don't you wake my daydream, 'cause it's so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. Daydream. keep them safe and locked away inside. But don't you wake my daydream. Oh, so real it seems. Maybe someday I'll get my head from the clouds, but for now I'll just daydream. Don't you wake my daydream.